gas, glow, or electric? Which one has the cheapest startup cost? That's the topic of today's episode. For this exercise, we're going to go through the motions of buying and outfitting everyone's favorite model, the Ugly Stick. Das Ugly Stick, as it was known, was originally designed by Phil Kraft in the 60s as a test model for the new radio systems that were being developed at that time. Using a minimal amount of wood, it was thought of being an expendable cheap plane to replace. Today, many manufacturers still sell a version of the classic design, which is a testament to the design of the plane. Plus, it's a really great plane to fly if you have basic flying skills. The stick that I currently have is made by Seawild Models under the name of Drastic. I chose the classic Ugly Stick scheme of the red and white with the Maltese cross, but they have other color schemes to fit your preference. It has a wingspan of 66 inches and weighs about 7.5 to 7.7 pounds, and I happen to power it with a 15cc gas engine. The original Ugly Stick was powered by a .61 two-stroke glow motor. Most of these days, the sweet spot you'll find most are powered with a 91 four-stroke glow or a 15cc gas like what I have, or an electric equivalent. Armed with that information, let's see which one lets you keep more money in your pocket. But keep in mind, prices will vary per manufacturer, and you may even find better deals than the ones I'm talking about here. So let's start off with electric. The motor I picked is a Spectrum 5055-650 kV. This motor roughly costs about $110. You'll also need an ESC, and the one that I picked is a 100 amp Spectrum Avian ESC. It retails roughly for about $100. With this setup, you can use between a 3S and a 6S LiPo battery. For this example, I chose a Spectrum 6S 22.2 volt 5000 milliamp hour LiPo battery, and it retails for about $140. So for our initial price of the airframe is roughly about $240. Then you add the motor, ESC, and at least 2 batteries to the mix. You're looking at around $730. This is before you buy any servos and assuming you already have a transmitter and an additional receiver. For the glow motor, I chose the OS95AX. It's a 2-stroke motor cranking out 15.55 cc's of power. So to set the stick up with glow, figure in the cost of $240 for the airplane, $382 for the motor, $15 for the igniter, and $38 for the gallon of fuel, and you get a total of $675. Again, not factoring in the cost for the servos and assuming you do have the transmitter and a spare receiver. As for gas, I chose what I currently am running, which is the RCGF Stinger 15cc gas engine with the side exhaust, and it retails itself for $240. You have the opportunity to shop around and you can probably even get that even a little cheaper. The one main item you'll need to make this motor run is an ignition module. For this, I chose the GeForce 2S 6.6 volt 1500 milliamp life battery that costs $6, and that's what I currently run in my stick. For fuel, you can use regular pump gas or avgas along with a 2-cycle synthetic oil mix. Right now, gas costs me about $2.69 per gallon, and the oil is roughly around $10. So the upfront cost for this plane and engine setup is about $488. Once again, excluding servos, transmitter, and receiver. So just a recap of the comparison, to outfit the stick with an electric setup, you'll spend $730. With glow, you'll spend $675, and then with gas, $488. It's clear to see that upfront cost, but gas would be the more cost-effective setup. But there are pros and cons to each one of them. So a pro for electric would be no loud engine noise, which would be ideal if you're flying at a club that has noise restrictions in place. There's no fuel to mix up, and at the end of the day of flying, you have no oily mess to clean up like you would with glow. And of course, the biggest con to electrics is going to be the battery. First, it's going to be cost. You need at least a minimum of 2 batteries, so one can be ready to go when you're using the other. And depending on how long of a flight time you want, the prices of the batteries could get pretty expensive. You also get less time of flying, because if you plan on a full day of flying, plan on sitting the majority of the day waiting on the battery to charge. It could take anywhere from 30 minutes or more after each flight before you're back in the air. And there's also the potential fire hazard with LiPos. They're pretty finicky. You have to maintain the voltage whether you're storing or using them. And if you go below the safe voltage threshold, you've damaged the battery, and it could cause a problem and cause a crash. And while you're charging the battery, you want to make sure you stay there and watch it, because you can't leave it alone, because every once in a while they do short out and could cause a fire. And at the least, you could just barbecue your plane. At worst, burn down your house. So don't ever walk away from a charging LiPo. Now, as far as pros on the glow motor, you're carrying on the tradition of many RC pilots before you. Glow motors have been around for the longest time, way before gas and definitely way before electrics. And so you're just carrying on the tradition. The glow motors are the OG of the power plants in the model hobby. The other pro, of course, is the engine sound. Nothing like an internal combustion engine flying around the field. And once you have them tuned, they run like a top. And probably the biggest con to glow engines is going to be the price. Glow motors used to be affordable. Now they have steadily increased in price, where they're not getting very affordable to the average RC pilot. And then there's the cost of the glow fuel. Glow fuel's gone through the roof. A gallon of glow fuel will set you back $38 for just 1 gallon. And just maybe 10 years ago, I was paying $16 a gallon. And you also got to factor in that glow motors are not very fuel efficient, and they will go through it pretty quickly. So you'll be finding yourself buying more gallons of glow fuel than you would anything else. And another possible con for a lot of folks is the break-in period. Unlike electric motors, you're going to have to run a couple of tanks of fuel through the motor to get it ready. You got to get everything seated and broke in. And like I kind of hinted at before, last but not least of the cons, you're going to have to deal with an oily mess on your airplane when you get ready to pack up at the end of the day. And what about the pros of a gas engine? They're very fuel efficient. They only sip fuel, giving you the ability to have a flight time of 20 to 30 minutes if you choose. And to boot, there's no oily cleanup at the end of the day like there is with glow motor. And whether you choose pump gas or avgas, it's still cheaper per gallon as compared to glow fuel. And the best of all, the sound. Gas engines make a nice purring sound as they're flying by. And who doesn't love the sound of a Moki radial engine when it's flying flat out right in front of you? Just as good as gas engines are, there are some cons that we have to talk about. And like glow motors, you do have to break them in before you can take off. A couple of tanks of gas to get all the pistons and rings set, then you're good to go. Another con could be learning how to fine-tune the engine for optimum performance. And if you've never done that before, that could be an issue, but it's not undoable. And last but not least, the props could get pretty expensive. If your luck runs like mine, you'll be breaking props on somewhat of a semi-regular basis. And at $20 each, that could get a little pricey. And there you have it, a cost comparison of going with either an electric, glow, or a gas engine for a 60 size stick. Hope you found this information useful on your quest on moving up to your next airplane, because if you haven't thought about it, a stick is an excellent second plane, third plane. It's just an all-around great plane to have in your hangar that throw up in the air and fly around. So until next time, I'll catch you later.